Have you ever noticed this thing before? That today's modern AAA games just don't feel the same anymore. To be honest, the more I replay older games, like this one, Batman Arkham Knight, or The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, the more I start feeling that something has changed after 2019. And no, my friends, I'm not talking about anything related to nostalgia here. I'm talking about the overall video gaming experience. Like, if you look at the games launched between 2013 and 2019, it genuinely feels like one of the strongest eras of AAA gaming there has ever been. Heck, even Battlefield 3 feels more truly next-gen than the recent Call of Duty games. And guess what? It was launched back in 2011. Yeah guys, just think about it. Games like Batman, Arkham Knight, The Witcher 3, Battlefield 1, Mad Max, Metal Gear Solid 5, Mortal Kombat 11, Red Dead Redemption 2, and God of War 2018. All these AAA games were not only visually impressive back in the days, they also offered great gameplay, memorable stories, fantastic animations, everything combined all together in one single package. And most importantly, many of them were launched as complete products on day one, and most games either had no major story expansion related DLCs, or even if they did, those story DLCs and expansions offered much higher quality, like The Witcher 3 expansion, or Batman Arkham Knight post-content. But now, compare that to what type of game launches we see nowadays. Today, it has become a new normal for a AAA game to launch with performance issues, bugs, stuttering, crashes, and then wait for months, or even years, to get all those bugs and issues fixed through several patches and updates. And let's not forget the pricing. Back then, $60 was the standard price for most AAA games. And today? Well yeah, the $70 price tag has become the norm. Nintendo games hitting up to $90, and Rockstar charging you a full $100 without taxes for the full story-driven experience in Grand Theft Auto 6, yet many modern releases, especially on PC, still struggle with optimization and stability issues. And let's not talk about the higher editions at all. Even we still have not seen any mind-blowing Nintendo title unlike previous generation. Like, no major Super Mario or Pokemon game so far. And now we're getting the next major GTA game after so many years, unlike the past generation of console hardware and PC gaming. So what exactly happened? Well, one of the biggest changes in the gaming industry has been the move towards Unreal Engine 5. In the past, many major studios built and maintained their own game engines. Like CD Projekt Red had Red Engine, Konami had the Fox Engine, 343 Industries had Slipspace, and so on, in which they had their own piece of technology specifically designed around the games they wanted to create. But today, more and more AAA studios and publishers are pushing themselves toward Unreal Engine 5. Now don't get me wrong, UE5 is an incredibly powerful engine, but it's also an engine that comes with its own challenges, like shader compilation stutters, heavy CPU usage, large-scale asset streaming and demanding lighting systems, that is Lumen and Nanite, etc. And due to all this, most of us are facing performance-related issues, irrespective of how powerful your hardware is. And yeah, on the PC side of things, both Windows 11 and DirectX 12 Ultimate also cause game stutters and heavy CPU bottlenecking issues, due to their shader compilation techniques and conflicts with Windows security features. You might have encountered at least one Unreal Engine title where performance felt far worse than it should be. Now the question is, if Unreal Engine 5 can create these problems, why is everybody using it? Well, because from a development perspective, it offers some huge advantages. Epic Games has built an ecosystem that makes development faster and more accessible. You have blueprints built in within the UE5 engine, which allow developers to create mechanics through visual scripting. You have ready-made first-person and third-person templates. You have the Fab Marketplace packed with assets, animations, sounds, and tools. And because so many developers already know how to use Unreal Engine, studios no longer have to spend years training their new employees on their proprietary technology. So, from a business standpoint, that's a massive advantage. Less training, less maintenance, less development overhead, and ultimately, more profit. But here's where things get interesting. I don't actually think Unreal Engine 5 is the real problem here. Sure, it even comes with its own flaws. Every game engine has its benefits and flaws, and so does Unreal Engine 5. However, the bigger issue is how modern AAA game development is being handled. Developers today are creating larger worlds, more detailed graphics, and more complex systems than ever before. But at the same time, publishers want games released faster. And sometimes those two goals simply don't work together. If you're building a massive open-world game, it requires more time for optimization than a linear game, hence, it is not something someone can magically solve overnight. It takes time, hours of testing, and takes a lot of experienced programmers and numerous resources and adequate amount of time to deliver a great AAA title that runs stable on your hardware that meets its system requirements. Now, we've already seen examples of major games launching with severe performance issues, even on consoles. Like, the console versions of Gotham Knights are still locked at 30 FPS. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is another example that most of us still remember, right guys? And then there's another trend that I've noticed. Machine learning upscaling, frame generation, AI-assisted performance technologies, like Copilot and all. Yeah, but guys, please don't misunderstand me. I think these technologies are amazing when they're used properly. But sometimes it feels like they're being treated as a replacement for optimization instead of a bonus feature. You know, companies are indirectly forcing us to use those technologies to get more FPS, even if you own a $5,000 GPU. So, some players will indeed start getting frustrated. Because, instead of feeling like we're getting better optimized games, it sometimes feels like we're being asked to use more technology to compensate for optimization that should have happened during development. It seems we are really living in a fake world, where many people are more happy seeing fake frames than raw performance in their games. And once again, this saves time, money, and yes, this means more profit. But let's be honest. The biggest issue isn't Unreal Engine. The biggest issue isn't upscaling or frame generation techniques. No. The biggest issue is corporate greed. Nowadays, developers aren't given enough time by the top-level executives to fully polish and optimize their games before release. And that's why we've seen the rise of what many players call the launch now and fix later mentality from the big studios and publisher side. Honestly, I think Cyberpunk 2077 played a huge role in normalizing this trend. We all remember that launch. The game eventually became fantastic, although its launch showed the entire industry that a broken launch could still recover later. Even though we still never got to drive flying cars in the game, that's another big L from CDPR though. And ever since then, it feels like more and more companies have become comfortable releasing their games early where they aren't fully ready. Then, we have situations like Rocksteady, a studio that gave us one of the greatest superhero games ever made, that is Batman Arkham Knight, and later after nearly a decade, many fans expected another incredible single-player experience. Instead, we got this live service game that destroyed the legacy of our Arkham Batman. Honestly, they should learn from the makers of No Man's Sky, and how to learn from the mistakes and rise up from the ashes. But no, they won't. And looking at The Witcher 4, I am wondering if history will repeat itself or not. Most importantly, will it run properly on our current set of consoles and PC hardware, especially the mid-range ones? Or are they going to list the RTX 9090 as the recommended GPU to run the game at 2K upscaled 60 FPS with FrameGen and DLSS enabled? Especially now that gaming hardware itself is becoming more expensive every year. And while all of this is happening, game prices are also technically increasing in parallel, especially if you check the prices of non-standard editions. Even regional pricing has started to disappear in many countries. And the value players receive for their money doesn't always seem to be improving at the same pace. That's why I still believe that video games were at the highest peak back at the 2014 to 2019 era, and after that, it started falling at an aggressive speed. Not because every game from that period was perfect. Just as I told you earlier, No Man's Sky, Batman Arkham Knight, Just Cause 3, and a few other games had launch issues, although the studios patched their games as soon as they could, unlike what most of them do nowadays. Moreover, unlike today, only a few games used to launch in an incomplete state compared to the current generation. Also, quality, optimization, and value felt far more consistent with those older games than the newer ones. And here's the uncomfortable truth. As long as people continue to pre-order games, or purchasing titles on day one regardless of their condition, publishers may find very little reason to fix their games before their initial launch. Because at the end of the day, consumers vote with their wallets. And now again, please don't get me wrong. I don't think that gaming is doomed. I don't think Unreal Engine 5 is ruining the industry. And I definitely don't think great games have stopped being made. What I do think is that AAA gaming has become less consistent than it used to be. The real issue lies within the greedy corporate mindset. If they allow developers to take their time polishing games, adapt proper regional pricing, spend more on quality assurance, and importantly, if they care about game preservation and develop games for us, the real target audience, and not for the shareholders, then I believe we will get to play great games again. But hey, that's just my opinion. What do you think about all these guys? Has AAA gaming actually declined after 2019? Or are we simply remembering the past more fondly than it really was? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, okay my friends? And if you're planning to buy some new games and add them to your backlog during the next Steam sale, then make sure to check out this video right over here. Until then, see you my friends, and have a nice time ahead.